Hi, thank you. My name is Sandor Ligetfalvy. I'm on Twitter at BrockBug. Today I'm discussing the constitutional amendment, which was a referendum that passed last week, unfair advantage in BUSU referendums, institutional apathy, and BUSU referendum cycles. So the questions that I think we'll be able to answer by the end of this quick talk will be, are students sufficiently informed? Why is BUSAC not concerned with transferring power? And did BUSU follow its promise to address unfair referendums? I was invited here by Professor Christie because he heard a podcast that we published through CFBU. You can find it on my social media. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I founded the Brock University Gadfly in 2013 because of a gap in information. The student media isn't informing the students, and it is a systemic problem to the point where an independent journalist has had to found an alternative publication. So today I'm going to quickly go through what BUSU's election cycles are. So there's 3 opportunities for referendums in BUSU, in October, February, and March. The referendum cycle that just passed was the October referendum, but it was oddly held in November, and I'll get to that in a moment. This graph here is the last 20 referendum questions at BUSU. You can see the orange, pink, blue pattern. Those are the different time periods which they took place in. The most recent referendum was the constitutional referendum, which passed 82%. But 1 in 3 people who didn't vote at all. They abstained. The average abstention at BUSU is 11%, so this was 3 times as many abstentions as normal. This is a graph of the last 20 questions in terms of student participation. Only 1 in 6 students voted in this referendum. The best BUSU has ever had is 36.7%, or 1 in 3. The minimum number of percentage of participation is 14%, so this past referendum just squeaked by. So 8.6% of students voted yes, but 84.3% of students didn't vote at all. 1 in 6 students. So the question I'll just quickly, if we have a moment, pose to you is why 5 in 6 students don't vote. Yeah?
But they didn't really talk about why, the referendum they didn't really advertise. Like they advertised it, they just talked about vote yes to this referendum. They didn't tell us why we should vote yes. Yeah.
Honestly, this is the first time I'm hearing about this.
Okay. Anyone else? Yep.
How would you become informed? One.
So I saw the papers you have to do like 16 pages and they were like talking about it.
That's right. Would you expect the student media to explain to you?
Yeah.
So this is the campaign cycle. Every time there's a referendum, there are these milestones that must be passed for a referendum to go through. The first time it's announced by council, then when it's approved by council, and then comes the no-side deadline. I've highlighted in red the low information exposure period. The no-side deadline is when it matters to inform students. What in practice has been at this university for years has been to only inform students after the deadline. When it's too late, what does it matter if you get your opportunity to have a no side? Well, every debate needs dialectical opposition, meaning, want me to do this?
Yeah.
So it gives an opportunity for the yes side to justify the proposal, and those words that they use in referendums can be used later to be held accountable. If they don't make any promises, there's nothing to hold them accountable for. Also, as was touched upon, it actually explains what the heck they're talking about. It creates awareness and gives permission to take a side. The no side has opportunity for $500 in campaign funds, access to postering halls, and of course, very importantly, class talks. It ensures fairness in a 2-campaign race. The bylaws are written for 2 campaign races, so if there's only 1 campaign, there's no one to be unfair to. And a no campaign gives the opportunity for the public to verify the results, because if there's no one in the room when they print out the results, then how is it actually being independently verified? So touching back on the milestones that I spoke of just a moment ago, 25 days, days since being newsworthy. So on September 25th, in council, they said, hey, we're going to have a referendum. It wasn't until 33 days later that the Brock Press decided to report on it first. It was announced on the 25th and approved on the October 9th. And it wasn't until 6 or 7 days later that they mentioned it on their social media. So there's no urgency at all from BUSU to informing the public. And you'd have to be following their social media to even have any idea, to have a clue. They're not going to explain it, of course, but they will let you know. So we're just going to return back here to the last 20 questions. I blanked out the questions that aren't BUSU questions. The green ones are the ones with 2 campaigns. The red ones are the ones with 1 campaign. So here we have the November referendum, which I'll go through in a minute, and then the unfair advantage referendum, which I'll also go through very quickly. My whole complaint is short notice. BUSU has systematically given students short notice in information when they're making proposals. Not only was the constitutional amendment short notice, but the SJC referendum of February 2018 was initiated on the 17th. The no-side deadline was the 26th. Same with the zone, initiated on the 28th. The deadline was the 9th. So this is a recurring complaint. Given this, has BUSU provided enough time for the proposal to be disseminated and digested, for information to be reported and verified by the media, and for research to be done so that opinions can be formed? So, with this complaint being made, I've relied upon the bylaws. The bylaws are written and ratified by predecessors of BUSU to create fairness. So one of the bylaws that was broken and then deleted was the one that said that for a referendum to be in February, it has to be approved by December. They weren't doing that. They were breaking that bylaw. They approved a bylaw in January instead. When I pointed it out, instead of enforcing the bylaw, they deleted it. So here we have, right, must appear in Brock Press for 2 regular issues. Nah. Let's make it known through BUSU marketing efforts. Yeah. This is BUSU's marketing efforts. This is the entirety of BUSU's marketing efforts. You have to be following their social media to get this. And when you get this, you're still not getting much of an explanation. This was 1 week after it was approved by BUSAC and only a week before the deadline. So you have to be following it to know, and that's, I think, a problem. I asked at council why BUSU doesn't release press releases to explain themselves. They simply said, we don't have a practice of releasing press releases. And I think that that's highly problematic. Am I all right for time for now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So the most recent story is one I call Brave New BUSU, and you can find it through the social media on Twitter by following the hashtag. And I'm just going to quickly explain what the Brave New BUSU is. So these are the different branches of government. You have your board of directors, the executives, and the BUSAC. These are all elected representatives. There are 7 board of directors and 35 councillors. The amendment has caused it so that all legislative authority is theirs. These guys aren't doing legislative authority anymore. And I've broken it down here. Officers will report and be accountable to the board of directors. So the executives are no longer accountable to the council, they're accountable to the board of directors. And the council has Brock TV every week. It's an open forum, and the board of directors is not quite as open. Here's a visual. I'd love to be able to explain this in more detail about why this is taking place, but the bottom line is liability. BUSAC, the student union, has broken its bylaws, as I can show and will be showing briefly. And the board of directors is liable for the breaking of bylaws. So they're taking the wheel. And so this is the Democratic Highway, and this is them corporatist going off the off-ramp. I reported 3 full reports about this issue. Again, please just follow the hashtag, BraveNewBUSU. First, I broke the news, then I analyzed the changes, and then I addressed the full context. This meme is probably too difficult to explain, but this is what they want you to believe, and this is what I perceive as the larger story. And we can get into that in more detail, but you think you're going to have to just do that research. This referendum was an October referendum, however, it was held in November. The bylaws say that referendums must be complete by October 31st. I reported on this. It also must be approved prior to the commencement of nomination period, which was September 30th. So on September 30th, that was the deadline for nomination period. That would be when you would have normally signed up, but it was extended, so that's fine. So when I confronted council about this topic, the general manager said that it was a minimal departure from the document, and there doesn't appear to be any detriment to students provided they have sufficient notice to the referendum question. Of course, that's the whole issue, is if they have sufficient notice to the referendum question. Thanks. So this graph just very quickly shows that each of these questions has a substantial financial impact. These are the questions that were deleting some fees. These are the questions that addressed fees. Those are in hundreds of thousands, or those are in thousands. So it's a lot of money. A lot of money that's been targeted by BUSU. Of course, there's the engagement levy. I'm not sure how many people here are currently in first year, but you were the first year to have to pay the engagement levy. Just quickly going through this. So there usually is not a no campaign, but in this case, there was a no campaign. And what happens if there's a no campaign? Well, they tilt the referendum. Of course, you all have access to this PDF if you visit my social media at BrockBug. The PDF is downloadable, so you can take a look at some of this in more detail. This issue was photos, videos, staff, emails, website, social media were all easily used by the BUSU campaign, and the no campaign had to start from scratch. This was raised as a concern. The no side filed a complaint. The elections team said that yes, it does, in their opinion, provide them with unfair advantage. However, this is a precedent that has been set in past referendums. This is the letter that they released during that, where they promised to work arduously to address referendum unfairness. How many infractions do you count? Well, we don't have full time, but this is all of the institutional advantage that BUSU utilized in order to make sure they get this fee. Too long didn't read, BUSU cheats in referendum. This was the third time the referendum passed. In 2014, 39% voted no. In 2016, 47% voted no. And 2018, the referendum where I say that they cheated, 64% voted yes. Sorry, I said that wrong, but I think you understand what I'm saying is that the very fact that they tried 3 times and on the third time was the cheat time indicates the cheating was effective. They then removed an executive from office instead of addressing fairness. And a year later, I came back to find out had anything been done to fulfill this promise of unfair referendums, and nothing had been done. These are all reports that are available for you to read. And in conclusion, I actually asked if they recognize that there's a natural power imbalance between yes campaigns and random student no campaigns, and the answer was I declined to answer at this time. So that is a quick rundown of some of the research that I've been presenting on my social media over the last year and a half or so. Thank you very much.